ionic bonding and ionic compounds, A-level chemistry. Ions are formed when electrons are transferred. So an atom can either gain an electron or lose an electron or more than one electron. These are charged particles. These charged particles can either be a single atom, something like sodium, or could be a group of atoms like nitrate. When an atom loses or gains an electron, they are trying to get to a full outer shell like noble gases. These are very stable electronic structure. Metals tend to lose electrons from their outer shell to give positively charged ion, something like sodium, which loses one electron to give you the sodium ion, which is 1 plus. And nonmetals will gain electrons into their outer shell to give you negatively charged ions, like chloride gaining one electron to give you chloride ions. Remember that group 1 elements will lose one electrons, group 2 elements will lose two electrons, group 6 elements will gain two electrons, and group 7 elements will gain one electron. Ionic bonding is formed when metals and nonmetals react together. The metal atom loses electrons to form a positively charged ion, while the nonmetal will gain electrons to give you a negatively charged ion. Both of these will try to have a full outer electron shell. These oppositely charged ions are strongly attracted to each other with electrostatic forces of attraction called the ionic bond, like the ionic bond formed between sodium and chloride to give you sodium chloride, where the sodium loses an electron, chloride gains an electron, or magnesium oxide, where magnesium loses two electrons and the oxygen gains two electrons to give you magnesium oxide. Ionic compound shape, they have regular lattice structure called the giant ionic lattice. And the ions form a closely packed regular lattice arrangement, and they are very strong. There is a very strong electrostatic force of attraction between the oppositely charged ions in all direction in the lattice. Some common ions and their charges that you need to know, in addition to the ions that come from the elements like from sodium, magnesium, chloride, or oxygen. There are a group of ions that give you a charged ions as well, or give you charges. So you need to memorize these ones. First, the hydroxide OH, it has only one negative charge, and we have the ammonium NH4, which has a one positive charge. There is the carbonate, which is CO3. It has two minus or two negative, and nitrate NO3 is one negative charge. And then we have the sulfate SO4, which had two minus two charge. Remember, when you try to write the formula for the any ionic compound, you have to take into account the charge of the positive and the negative ion. So if you are trying to have something like magnesium nitrate, magnesium has 2 plus and nitrate 1 minus, so it's going to be magnesium and nitrate will be two of these, so the total charge of your compound is going to be 0. The properties of the ionic compounds will depend on its shape and the electrostatic forces of attraction between the ions. So they have high melting and boiling points because of the very strong electrostatic interaction holding the ions in the giant ionic lattice. So they need a lot of energy to overcome this electrostatic forces of attraction. When it comes to electricity conduction or conduction of electricity, in the solid state, they do not conduct electricity because all the ions are held tightly in that giant ionic structure. There is no free ions to carry the charge. However, if they are dissolved or if they are molten, then the ions are free to move and they can carry the charge, so they can conduct electricity. They are brittle because the layers of the alternating charges are distorted when an external force is applied. This is because the alike charges will repel each other, breaking the ionic lattice into smaller fragments. And finally, ionic compounds dissolve in water. This is because water molecules are polar molecules. The oxygen and hydrogen on the water molecule will have a small charge of a positive and negative charge, and these charges on the water molecule will pull the ions away from the lattice. This is why ionic compounds are soluble in water.